G'day mate, welcome back to Factorio with me, JD. This is going to be probably my last version 16 base tour. My Rip to the Pickaxe base, which actually started as a throwaway comment that I saw on Reddit on can you power up a base with just a piece of coal and launch a rocket, or a piece of wood and launch a rocket. And it's taken about 3 months to get it to the state it's at, where... Okay, so originally it was just, can I build a base that launches a rocket starting with a piece of wood or a piece of coal? And I built that, and that was actually fairly easy to do. It wasn't that hard. Sure, you had to go into creative mode and place everything down, and then have a burner miner coal set up like this that just loops around and feeds itself and then powers everything and makes iron, makes copper, makes all the products, launches rocket. Nothing hard. So I decided to one-up myself and say, can I actually put in something like research queue and actually do all the research required to launch a rocket? Because I'm using creative mode, all the assemblers are already put down, all the recipes are preset, so that wasn't really an issue. It was whether or not I could get it timed out perfectly. And the first thing you've seen I've done is I sped the game up to speed level 3, or 3 times normal speed, because this takes a while. It takes about an hour and 10 minutes to go through a full iteration. Come on, stand on a belt, JD. Because I might as well move down there slowly whilst this goes. So that meant a lot of things had to be doubled. Like, I had to double, triple the smelting just to get enough smelting done to actually do the science. And then it came down to the timing. Can I not only launch a rocket, but have the timing be accurate enough that the research finished before the rocket launched, and have everything purely automated? And probably about a month before 17 was actually released, I had that up and running, and I just hadn't done a video for it because it actually took a lot. It took a lot of time to edit the video. I might even show the video edit towards, or what the video edit looks like towards the end of this video. But there were lots of things that I had to tweak with this map. You can see right here in the early stage, I had to put a splitter on here to prioritize everything to the other side of the belt, because I actually found out by about this point there was so much coal on one side of the belt, even though it doesn't look it, there was too much coal on one side of the belt. The bottom row, and definitely the bottom row and half of this row, couldn't output anymore. And you can see blue science goes across our coal belt because, long story short, blue science had to be doubled to get all the timing of the sciences worked out perfectly. Even the research queue, you can see that we've got speed module 2s, and then I could research speed module 3 straight away, but it's starting to back up in blue science, so I actually swap over and do some military, actually a lot of the military research, and then come back for the science module 3s, so purple and yellow have had a bit of time to back up, to then go back to the last 2 rocket shooting speeds for more military research, because they've started to back up, to then try and get the rocket silo done. It was actually a really complicated build to get all the timing right. Along with the power setup, there's like 500 steam engines on this map. There is a lot of steam power. 497, and I had to use power switches, which are just, so this reads the belt contents with a whole condition, and when this detects anything on that red circuit, it then adds power to this power pole, which we'll just bring up really quickly, which comes down here, passes over this power line, doesn't connect, actually to remove the wires manually, all the way down, loops around this iron outpost to power up this coal. Because I needed this coal. I needed this coal to then come up here to power the next bank of steam engines. And as you can see, we're not using a lot of power at the moment. I've actually got steam tanks up here to give me a buffer as the base increases in production, obviously, because when all the miner drills turn on, these guys produce basically 2 and a bit belts worth of iron. The stones, bless all. The copper, same story. We're bringing it 4 belts down to over 2. But when they all first turn on, and along with the smelting, when it all first turns on, it has a very, very large peak draw that it sort of kicks off with. So I had to employ steam tanks here, there, and everywhere to actually get enough power to run everything. And as you can see, we're powering up the second one. When we get coal down here, it'll then power up this set of coal, which again had to use a priority on the splitter to output down here to actually fill all these coal belts. That's a lot of smelting. So all these guys had to be filled with coal before the priority would stop kicking in, because that lane's now full, and it'll run the coal this way to then fill up this side of the belt, to then come back here and fill up this side of the belt, hit another power switch, and connect another power network. Even then, I've got my excess coal. So any coal that can't be fed into the first steam engine and any coal that can't be fed into the second steam engine gets looped back around, comes down here and starts filling these steam engines. And as you can see, they've also got tanks. They've actually got quite, a lot of tanks in this map to fill up as much steam buffer as possible. And as you can see, like this steam, there's one steam run there. There's another steam run down here that comes all the way down to here. Another steam run that goes even further down. At half my tests, I actually forgot to hook up these pipes, so it didn't really run too well. Which again has more steam engines, more steam tanks. There's a lot of power on the power on the power. And one thing that didn't actually make the final cut was I actually have a list of power graph. And during the whole powering up cycle, there is actually a spot where even with 500 steam engines potentially all running at full speed, because they potentially all have some sort of steam buffer that they can draw on, I still can't get enough power to run the whole base. But we can see this is slowly filling up with coal. Yeah, we're waiting for the last two steel smelters to fill up with coal, which again takes some time. Steel and final iron line, because I needed more iron for, I want to say, green circuits. No, I needed more iron for more gears, because it turns out I didn't have enough. So I've got iron, a dedicated iron for gears, 6 coppers, 2 of them dedicated for green circuits. Then I've got steel, and then I've got stone brick over here with a extra iron smelter on the end. So you can see this iron smelter's already turned on. It's going to feed across. And it actually prioritizes iron up the bus. To give me extra iron up for mining drills, which is also fed in from the main bus. And if it backs up, which you can see it's already done, it starts pushing that extra iron down here to make more gears. Because this is almost a belt of gears and it still wasn't enough. Do I have max rack calculator installed still? No, I've disabled that. So, yeah. So we've got our iron and our copper. Our copper is actually 6 lanes of copper, and our iron is 6 lanes of iron. And as you can see, research is already flying off. Can I move that somewhere unobnoxious? No. So we output red and green science. And again, same story. I had to actually add more. Originally this was half the length it is. I actually had to vastly increase the length and then add in, which instantly meant I needed a second inserter machine. Actually turns out I needed a second belt machine as well, because I just wasn't outputting the belts fast enough. And red and green science just flies straight back up here in the labs, which you guys saw during the full video. Let's go look at green circuits, because that's a fairly easy build, which is not quite 4 solid lanes. It's about 3.5 lanes of green circuits. There is a lot of green circuits coming out of this base. Still not quite enough in places. I would have liked to have made the build longer, but I was constantly finding a issue of not enough iron or not enough copper or these sorts of things, and I didn't really want to tap out to more patches, because as you can see, I've pretty much got everything south of the base covered. And of course, it's all fed by belts. And I didn't want to start putting in trains and other things. Like, even this has got a mix of copper and stuff. So I've had to do priorities and all sorts of fun things. And obviously there's a little bit of coal on this side for some reason. Yeah, one of those guys had coal. There we go. So yeah, I noticed this after the fact, actually, during the editing process, that I could probably get more copper out of that. But then when I come up here, it's 8 lanes, or 7 lanes in, 6 lanes out. So it's more than compressed to start with. Iron is 8 lanes in, 8 lanes out, and as you can see, they're fully compressed lanes. We'll turn the power grid off because I have no idea how clean or messy it is. So yeah, green circuits, it's a fairly compact build. It's one I've been playing with, using for a long time. You can like use priorities to move everything to the inside of the inside 2 lanes. It's something I have done in previous bases, but yeah, it's your standard 3 to 2. How you get the iron and the iron in and the green circuits out is up to you. Like this build, it works. I know somebody either made a comment in the comment section or previously on my Discord, because this tour is actually running. Well, the first original edits for this were going up for quite some time in my Discord, in the supporters lounge, so those that could support me could add their comments, which actually changed the way that the whole map was edited. Originally, I actually had a satellite being launched automatically. Instead, based on their comments, I actually launched an iron axe instead. So yeah, we've got green circuits coming off, and oh, that's what I was saying. These splitters. So these splitters. All comments aside, the reason I chose these is these take a quarter off all 4 belts and run it out to the side. And I wanted to use that idea so I didn't starve anything along the bus, because I wanted everything to hopefully, when I did a change at one end of the, right at the start, to have it an average effect over the whole run of this map. It's probably the best way of putting it. So over here, we've got our red circuits, which is a lane of plastic, a lane of green circuits, long-handed inserters, normal inserters, boom, 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 boom. I actually bring copper along the outside, make copper wire and feed it back this way with the red circuits, and then use a filter splitter at the end to stop the copper cable, but let the red circuits run along. We've got red circuits coming off this way to do blue sites. So we have the minor drills, which we sort of briefly saw before, with lots of gears being eaten, iron being eaten. You can see some of these end machines, you would assume I could do away with. Because like this machine's only outputted 78 total, 79 minor drills. Turns out I can't. This whole setup is so finely tuned that I just can't tweak anything. We've got gears being half fed onto one line, steel being fed in, pipes being fed along for the engines. The excess from what the Blue Science doesn't use is actually being looped up and around and being fed into electric engines to make your production sites. Nothing too complicated here. We've got the bricks from the very first smelter right at the start. Red circuits, fairly easy. You can already see our iron and our copper are very dead as we work our way up the bus. We've got blue circuits over here, which is taking potentially 2 full green belts. It's not quite a full green belt, 2 full green belts, but it's close to. Along here with red circuits to output blue circuits as fast as possible. Blue circuits was one of the things that actually required, up here, a lot of fiddling to get the timing right, which we'll come back to. We've got solar panels, we've got accumulators, we've got radars, nothing too complicated there. We've got solid fuel being made down at oil, which I'll go visit, hopefully, if we don't run out of time. We've got, rocket fuel, which is really easy. And as you can see, by the time you get to the last assembler, a lot of these guys aren't running. A lot of these guys can't, they just don't get fed. But it was important to have them to make the timing perfect at the end. Low density structures, same story. These guys are fully fed. They're actually overproducing by a lot. And rocket control units, you'll see I've actually got one tier 1 assembler at the end. This was the final edit done to this base. I actually had... we've got a satellite being built here, and I've got a spare player character, and we'll turn that on auto launch. How far do I have to go on the research queue? I've still got 30 minutes, so I've got about 10 minutes left in this video. So I actually have perfect timing when it comes down to this. So the satellite's going to be built, and it's going to be built for a while before this is ready to launch. But you'll actually see the rocket will come... The rocket will come halfway up, the research will complete, and then if auto launch is ticked, the satellite goes straight in and launches. And I actually had the rocket control units were slightly too fast. You can see right at the moment they're actually backed up. But as the base progresses, as we start using blue circuits for more high-tech science, and there was something else that changed this ratio. No, it was just the blue tech, the high-tech science, and actually it's also the satellite backs up. So yeah, when that changes, you'll see that suddenly our rocket control units all just disappear, and solid fuel also catches up, because solid fuel currently, a lot of it was fed this way early on to power all these steam engines. And if I click on the power... No, we're not having power struggles yet. But you can see a lot of my steam tanks, except ones that I accidentally didn't hook up to anything, because there's a few of them in there as well. A lot of my steam tanks are already empty. And my steam engines are doing... I've got one boiler. So one boiler can provide 60 steam. Let's go to a straight connection. So this one's doing 18-ish. This one's going to be doing 18. This one's going to be doing 18. And this one's doing 6 for some reason. It just can't... Oh, there's no steam left in the tank. Where's one with steam left in the tank? Here we go. So we're doing 17, 17, 17, and 17. So we're doing 34 plus 34. So we're actually using more steam and therefore reducing the amount of steam in these tanks continuously. Even if we go back to the original one, all these tanks were full to start with. You can see they're already down to 21. 21,000, and they will continue to fall. These guys are doing like 18 steam per second now. So yeah, in every case, we're actually using more steam than what we're making. Blue circuits, like I said, were a bit of a nightmare. I had to do the timing right. And I found if I just prioritized high-tech science, it had to fully back up, which it never does, because we're always consuming it. If I prioritized to the satellite, then I actually had all this belt had to be filled up with processing units before it would start feeding across to high-tech science, which was, again, too slow. So I had to come up with this medium. So this is... Half obviously go to the rocket control units, and then half of what's left, being a quarter, goes to the right, and then a 12th of it goes to the right, and then a 16th, no, a 24th goes to the right, and then a 48th goes to the right, and what's left continues on up to our lovely satellite, which, as you can see, only needs 4 more. So... It's fairly close to being done. We've still got 15 minutes total time left to actually get the satellite built. So the satellite's still ready well in advance. I found out if I added another splitter onto this, it actually meant that we didn't get the satellite built in time. There just wasn't enough blue circuits. Ideally, I could have rearranged things and maybe put this at the end and then had it travel up on a belt. But I really like this straight throughput version where it's literally right beside it. Same story, like low density structures, rocket fuel, radars. Like there's so many wasted radars. I end up wasting a lot of accumulators and solar panels as well, which is all resources. But again, any small tweak I do at one end can have a drastic effect at the other end. And we see our rocket solar is only at 66%, but now that our rocket fuel has been backed up to the satellite machine, we actually have a lot more throughput coming up here, along with our steam power. Our power overall doesn't really drop back down, but obviously that very, very, very long belt of solid fuel is completely filled now, and we still do take some priority of coal, or some coal fits into fill in the gaps, because this is yellow belt here, this is red belt here. Again, came down to timing. Like, the timing on this base is, yeah. All right. What else haven't I shown off? Oh, military. Military was its own special nightmare. Originally I had 1 to 3 AP ammos. Was enough. Had to double it out to 6, which then meant I had to find some other way to get ammo on the other side of the belt, which meant this extended down, which is unfortunate because there's a little grove of trees here. You can see I've literally blueprinted things down and haven't removed the trees. So there is trees growing all through the base. Funnily enough, they're not actually in the dead condition yet, because the pollution's really bad now, but if I go back to the start of the map, nothing's happened. Nothing's been built. Nothing's been run. There is no pollution. Grenades were easy enough. The gun turrets, again, if we come to here, like this guy only produces 17 gun turrets. These guys have produced a fair bit of gears, because right early on in the map, they get an extra burst of iron that just doesn't exist. Now, they get a little drip of iron every now and then. Gears are actually a big shortage in this map, and there was literally nothing I could do about it. The front guy's done like 200, 500, or 200, 300, you know, down to the last guy at a mere 18 gun turrets. But every one of those 18 gun turrets, 19 gun turrets, is super important to the final timing of this base. Okay, I gotta keep an eye on that rocket silo to make sure that I don't run out of time, because I do want to be up there for the actual rocket launch. So oil again was its own special nightmare. I have these pump jacks right here, which give us, I wouldn't really say a super excess of oil. We're sort of using it as fast as we're getting it. You will see most of the refineries are always on. We do get a certain way down the list, and they start to have issues getting enough oil in. Cracking was the same story. You know, early on, I needed this much cracking to keep things running. It is built on a very smart system, so there's only a little bit of lube kept in the lube system. Everything else is cracked across to heavy. All the rest of the heavy is cracked. Light, same story. There's only a very little bit kept in the tank. It is prioritized out to these guys first to keep them running full flat chat, because it is really, really important to have that solid fuel running not only for the rocket, but also for power, and then everything else gets cracked into petroleum, which finally does build up, but you can see even then it's having massive drops as we make acid, which again is, I think it's rate controlled. Yeah, it's rate controlled, and plastic. And we need to get up the map right now. I think I'm going to miss this. Oh, research is finished. Rocket, boom, done. It's as quick as that. And like I said, timing was everything when it comes down this map. This says I've only got 12 hours playtime. But honestly, it was 3 months in the making to make this map. It was an absolute... It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in Factorio, to build a factory where timing is key, and really timing almost down to the last second. So I'm going to hit continue, and I want to... First off, I want to show you my load gain. So, you know, these are the early half builds. And you can see by 6 hours in, well, 7 hours in, I had a map, and I had a bit of wood down here, and I started testing. And then I've had, like, remove a few blue chip machines, change the research queue, change the research queue again and again, add more labs, more green science, more, you know, more power, maybe more iron, more engines, more red belt fixed, blue chips done, maybe. And the iterations go on like that with cut 3 more rocket control units, cut tier 1 rocket control units. In this edition, I found I needed more iron, so again, more iron was added. It's been like, this is my final save at 11 hours and 12 minutes of physical in the game playtime. That's with no testing. That's 11 hours of going around and editing things in the map, and then making a save. And then if I want to run a test, I throw wood in the burner miner and I run a test and I walk away. I stand there and I wait for an hour, or if I run the game at 5 times speed, it's 20 minutes. But there are lots of times that I could, I'd be able to run it, and then a certain way in, I'd have to slow it back down to single game speed and stand there and watch something very, very carefully. Like labs. The lab build was originally this long, and then it got increased, and then it got increased, and there was a forest right here, and the forest had to be cleaned back and pulled back naturally, so it still looked natural, and then gave me what I've got here. So there's been so many edits in this map. And then can I want to see whether I can very, very quickly I'm just pulling up the video editing software. So some people mentioned continuity in the final run of the map, and I guess this is to help you guys understand the continuity. The continuity is all there. It all works. Unfortunately, there is continuity where I'm researching plastic, yet I've already got plastic on the bus. Steel is one thing that you actually can't start producing steel until you have researched steel. So the steel bus actually, or the steel belt, starts last. Because the furnaces, you can't set a recipe. A furnace is a furnace. And is this the final edit? Okay, so let's just do this and wait for the video editing software to boot back up. And maybe hang on. I don't think this is the final edit. One wood map, last edit. Yeah. So we'll wait for this to load. It does. We'll hit escape on that because that might give us just a few more CPU cycles. But what I had to do is you can't record Factorio in enough definition that I could then use a zoom function to zoom to different areas of the map and zoom in on that particular section. So what I actually had to do is I had to re-record certain parts of the map. So the one wood map burner drills it's one video. It is the whole video, me walking around the map. It is the one that I think... and of course, this is all done in super. It's this panel here, which then slides down to the left-hand corner. And as you can see, this green bar is when I'm speeding up, slowing down the footage. It's this side. It's this panel here. So that one's one video. This one's just me running the coal belts right at the start. So I had to redo one of these videos, riding the coal belts. That's the power one, which I just never used it. It was showing off the power spikes because you can sort of see it down here. There's a little power spike as the coal miners come on. But then at the 1 hour graph, it skyrockets straight up as all the miner drills kick in. And you can see they drop back down, and then as the base continues, as things back up slowly over time, the power levels drop back down to what you would consider being normal. There's a zoomed in run for just the blue and the purple sites. There's the copper ore. So I don't even know which video it is. It's me writing the copper ore belts. Grey and yellow science, iron ore, grey and yellow science take 2. So I had to redo that video because I wasn't happy with the first one. Yeah, there's a lot of videos, a lot of audio tracks, a lot of voiceovers. There was a lot of moving parts in this video. Honestly, it actually took me 3 days to edit the whole thing. But yeah, that is my little base tour of my rest in peace to the poor iron axe. Originally set up to launch a rocket with perfect timing. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I do hope you enjoyed this little game, this little map tour. I think I'm going to release the map as a download. It is version 16. Obviously, it won't work in version 17. It's up to you guys if you want to have a look at it yourselves in person. I hope I did a reasonable base tour of it. It's like I said, it was a complicated thing to build, and probably just as complicated to try and show it off. You will notice that Tech Tree is fairly empty. There is creative mode installed. Yeah, you're going to have to turn it back on with a console command if you guys want to go down that avenue. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.